Hi, this is Eden Gordon, and we are with Defenders Live. Yes, another special edition with our military spouse features. We have received such great reviews on Defenders Live for our military spouse segments. And today I have the honor to introduce you to Marlene Norgard. She is a military spouse, she's a children's book author, she's an entrepreneur, and she is a powerful friend. And I am so grateful to have you here this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first and foremost, we need to talk about where you're located. And we also need to talk about these amazing books that I have right here on my desk. I have Daddy's Deploying and Callie's Travels. These are two out of the three books that you have written during your time as a military spouse. So let's talk about where you're located and the inspiration to these books.
Well, I'm in sunny Florida, land of the free. I just love it down here.
That's
And
gonna make us all jealous here in North
I,
Carolina. Go
I
ahead.
know,
Go
I
ahead.
know. We're really blessed down here with the weather and everything else, and God bless our governor. So, my inspiration for my books actually started with my first one, My Star Spangled Friend. I had noticed that when I had my first son, I was delving into a realm I have not been into yet because I had not experienced motherhood. I had definitely not experienced the true core of what it is to be a military spouse yet. And all of a sudden, when we moved from our first duty station in Hawaii, we moved to North Carolina. And I started seeing little signs that were kind of odd to me. As a mom, you have your intuitions, but you're never really fully aware until your heart kind of sees, that's not right. There's something not right there. And I hadn't seen other children do this before. And what he was doing was he was carrying a backpack on him at 2 years old full of his favorite toys and a blanket.
So this is
And
your son.
my son, yes, my first child. And he was 2 years old, and we were getting ready to pack up in at MCBH to go and head to Camp Lejeune. And the guys were in the house, they were packing, and he just would not take his backpack off, and he would not play with any of his toys that he had. And I just found it really odd because we had just had my daughter, and you can't play with her. So he would just wander around the house and just keep it on his on his back. And I finally figured it out later that he was afraid that his stuff was going to be taken from him.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was wearing all of his favorite belongings because these guys are coming in with these boxes and throwing all his stuff in, taping them up and taking them out of the house.
Mhm.
So I was, oh my goodness, I had no clue. Shame on me. As a first time mom, I didn't know any better.
Right.
And I started thinking about it. And I said, there's got to be something out there to help me process this so that I can help him.
Mhm.
And I went on, I did the Google search as a mom, and I'm like, all right, let's find something. Let's find some resources so I can better understand what he's going through.
Mhm.
And there was nothing. And my husband looks at me and I said, I don't know what to do. I need some help with this. And he said, why don't you write it? I was like, you're crazy. I'm not writing a book. I got two young kids. He said, well, if the resources aren't out there, create them. Okay, that might be the best thing. So I started on this journey, and I first started with My Star Spangled Friend
Right.
because he had made his first friend in North Carolina, and in North Carolina, and shortly after he left, and then he was dealing with that. So I created that one as a journal for young children to write back and forth, but they're so young, they don't know what questions to ask. So what I did was I made it a guided journal so that it would prompt these kids to ask where they are now, what type of culture, what type of food, what type of friends and home they have. And it has places in there to draw pictures and really share their experiences so they can better connect with the friends that they've made.
Do you
Uh,
do you think this is a good book for um, groups like the USO? Like,
oh, absolutely. Because the USO is basically a junction where all of the military go through. It's not just for single spouses or it's not just for married spouses. All of our military go through the USO and would have access to this if I could get it out to the USO. so
Right.
that I know that I'm not the only one who has children who are having these symptoms or these issues going on. And these parents are probably scratching their heads. I don't know what to do.
Right. Right.
So that book started my journey. And then I went on to Callie's Travels, which you have there,
Yes.
to help. And with this one, I stress that, yes, they're all Marine Corps bases in there because we are Marine Corps, and I also want it for my children to have. But it's really good for all branches and all kids, because we're not the only people who move. The military are not the only ones who relocate.
Right.
So, you have people, especially during this post-pandemic, everyone's moving and
Right.
working from home, and we don't have a job here anymore. We have to leave. So it definitely helps the story with the parent and child, and opens that door to the conversation of, this is why we're moving. We're moving because mommy or daddy needs to move because we're asked to. And, the children have to follow, but a lot of times the parents don't understand the little nuances that go on, the little thoughts that kids have. They don't really understand because it's a child's mind.
Right.
They're so innocent in all of this, and we just think just because we're up and moving them that they're just supposed to deal with it.
Mhm.
But again, they're a child's mind. They're very immature. They don't know how to process or cope with those feelings or understand those feelings. So it's up to us as the parent to open that conversation so that they can share feelings. So what Callie's Travels does is it follows her journey. It
Mhm.
follows her journey, whether it's negative or positive. She has to move so many times, but she moves to a different place each time, finds a new wonderful friend, finds new wonderful things to do all the time in each one, and then has to say goodbye. And she's upset. But the next time she moves, she gets a new room, she gets to decorate it, she meets a new friend and finds new things to do. So it lets these children know that every time they move, they're gonna reestablish, they're gonna put their roots down. And it's part of their journey to do so. And in the end, I believe it makes them a much stronger, more resilient child.
Right. Right. Callie's Travels, I'm guessing, is after your daughter.
Callie, yep. And you know what's funny? I wanted to make this very kid friendly when I was doing book signings. So I actually went ahead and I made a Callie doll.
Oh, that's adorable.
She has her little shoes, and I added a little backpack. So every time she goes with me somewhere, I add a pin to where she's been.
When you have done your speaking, I know you've been to bookstores, done book signings, you have had different speaking engagements. What are some of the questions and the kind of the reception you're receiving? Because obviously you have the USO, you have the Elizabeth Dole Foundation with the Hidden Heroes program, you have the Gary Sinise Foundation. So you have all these great veteran service organizations who are really zoning in on the military child and wanting to help them. But have you noticed that yours are really the only ones in the marketplace at this point that have really kind of led the way?
Yeah, it's been very frustrating trying to get the word out about my books, because I find it to be a very important tool for parents to have.
Mhm.
And I have searched and searched and searched, and there's a few books about moving,
Okay.
but that's really it. There's really not a lot, which is surprising of how long the military has been established, for
Mhm.
there not to be there's resources for everything else except for our children who need it most right now, who
Right.
are under different circumstances than any other child would be under. And I my most prized moments are when I'm reading to kids.
Right.
Different groups. I read at Barnes and Nobles. I read on military bases. I read in schools. I most enjoy it because as soon as I read, especially College Travels, because I really wanted the kids to relate to it. So every single place in there is real. Every single event that they go to, like a tug of war in Naha over in Okinawa, like I make sure that I pinpoint specific things that I know that are very popular, that the parents are going to take the kids to.
Mhm.
So I make sure that when they hear that word, and I always see it every single time, especially when I was reading in North Carolina, when I mentioned North Carolina Camp Lejeune, I
Right.
saw the kids' eyes light up.
Oh, that's neat.
Then they started asking me questions, and I'd stop for a question and answer, and all their hands were going up, and it was just so wonderful to see them connect and see them get excited. And a few of them I read actually at a non-military school in North Carolina asked me to read. And she had a group of military students there. And some of the kids were, want to protect their identities, but some of the kids were, going through stuff because their parents were deployed. And
Right.
they actually prompted them to open up about their side of things and open up about their feelings. And it was just very heartwarming to see it. My books work like that.
Right, right.
And then especially with this one, I mean, this one rings true to me because my husband just got home from deployment, but daddy's deploying, and that's my son Declan. Um, and I actually read it to him quite a few times during this last deployment because he was having some difficulties adjusting because this is the third one, but he's a lot older for it. So, he's got a different level of understanding.
Right.
And that one goes through all the thoughts and feelings and about going through a deployment and missing them and wanting to share everyday moments with them. And sometimes you can't because you can't get in touch with them. And it goes through just different thoughts and ways of coping and letting them know that there are other people they can talk to, and you immerse yourself in your friends and you journal and all these different outlets that these kids can use. So it was really lovely seeing a group of kids really connect with me and open up. And that's all my books are about.
Do you think in the near future you'll be writing, putting words to paper for another military child book, especially with, going back to school? We're in summer reading mode right now, but back to school is literally next month.
Yeah.
And with everything that the great state of Florida and your governor is doing within the school systems, you have a huge opportunity as a spouse, as a book author, and an entrepreneur. You have an amazing opportunity down there with all those powerful moms groups to really get your book at the forefront. But does it inspire you to write another book for our military kids?
It absolutely does. There's a lot more things I would like to touch on. I just need to get the word out a little bit more about these books.
Mhm.
And then I know I have a lot of ideas swirling in my head about where I want to go with my books, but absolutely, I've thought about writing different ones with different circumstances, especially watching my children being a little older going through this deployment. There's absolutely a lot of untouched things that need to be said and need to be brought to the light.
Mhm. As a military spouse and your journey, what was it like? Your husband inspired you to put pen to paper, but what was that for all the other spouses out there who, one, are looking for resources, but two, them wanting to dream and put their dreams to reality? What were some of the steps that you went through to go through getting a book published?
When I first started, I mean, it all starts with a thought. It all starts with seeing a need, really, especially as moms being at home. You're at home with your child 24/7. You know them like the back of your hand. And you know when something is up. And as soon as you look in their eyes, you can just tell there's a need here. And if I can't find it, I'm going to create it. And military spouses, I've always said, have a special power. Listen, they stay at home. They're with crying, screaming kids all day. They clean their home. They work. They sometimes work from home. They work out of the home. They're cleaning, and their spouse is deployed, and they're all alone, and they are all they have.
Right.
So those military spouses are your most loyal people because they're self-reliant, completely self-reliant. And I mean, we don't really ask for help, but when we do, we have a workforce behind us, a huge backing. And it all starts with a need. And as long as you can identify that need, the list keeps growing of things that you can do about it. I mean, a lot of well, actually, all of the characters in Callie's Travelers are all real children that we know. They're all friends of mine.
Oh, okay.
They're all friends of my children. And some of them gave me ideas of what to put in the book because I tried to choose the character, the friend that has actually been at that station or lived there, so that they could tell me about it if I didn't know about it, I wanted to make sure that everything was true. Everything was exactly as it was. Same with daddy's deploying. I try to make everything as true as I can because it's very important and the details are important. Like this is the USS America
Oh, okay. Okay.
stationed at Pearl Harbor that my husband went on.
Oh,
So every single thing is very important, down to the tape in the boxes, because everyone knows that tape that goes over the piece of tape that goes over the box and it has the numbers on it. And my author wasn't getting it. And I said, you need to tell the illustrator that he needs to put this because it's very important. These kids are going to know, they are detail oriented. And
right.
everything has to be exact so that they can relate. So, I mean, moms just need to pay attention, and it will, when you trust in God, it will come your way. I gave it all. I said, just guide me to where I'm supposed to be and what the needs are of these children around here. And my books came out naturally.
Oh, that's amazing. I absolutely love it. I'm sitting here thinking about our team at Defenders Live. We have two gentlemen, and then I get to join them every Thursday night for a comedic 2 hours. But they both are fathers to teenagers and young children. One served in the Navy, the other was a child of a veteran. And I think they'll really take an interest in this book. But I also think where we are based here in Raleigh and also by Camp Lejeune and Fort Bragg, these books, this trio of books would do such a great service to our military spouses, both men and women who are taking care of the family on the home front and just seeking other resources to help guide. Yesterday, I had a great and powerful conversation with a female leader who's at the very forefront of helping our children within engaging the parents, engaging the school system, and being at the very local level of making sure the parental involvement is there. And you are such a great example to parental involvement, both at the local level, but also at a national level where you are really focused on these sources getting into the hands of our military families, our military spouses, and also hidden heroes, our veteran uh, space where there are so many children of veterans who are needing comfort, who are needing sources like these two books, and especially the trio. So, Marlene Norgard, I will tell you this. You are a military spouse, you're a children's book author, you are an entrepreneur, and Defenders Live is honored to have you. And this is just the beginning of another series that we are focusing on with Defenders Live. We are advocating for our military, we're advocating for our spouses, we are advocating for our veterans, and I'm so thankful that you are a part of it. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And you do incredible work, and this is what it's all about.
Oh, also, where can we connect with you if there are people who are watching this, who want to reach out to you, who want to connect with you? What are the best spaces on social to connect with you?
I'm on Instagram under Patriot Cakes because I also make cakes. I am also available on Facebook. I've had some issues lately with them, but I'm also available on my page on Facebook, Marlene Norgard. I have a picture of me and my beautiful two children, and I'd love to hear from anyone.
Okay, that's wonderful. What we'll do is we will post that and we look forward to having you back. Thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
so much.